Alright guys, well thank you everyone for coming in. I'm sorry for the tiny room change and the weird yellow light over there. But so today we're going to have a presentation by Gennaro on a cryptocurrency. So that should be interesting, and if you guys have any questions or anything, hopefully we can kind of answer it. And it'll be very baseline. Obviously Gennaro's not an expert. I imagine most people here aren't experts on crypto, so we might fumble up from here and there, but we'll make sure it works. And so I'm going to start off with, I'm not going to start off with that. I want to start off with asking you all how you're doing. I want some people here to tell me how they're doing at the end of the semester.
Woo!
Why are you doing awful?
I was just joking.
No.
Fantastic. Tired.
Why are you tired, Luis?
Capstone.
Okay.
Design review.
DR3, you already finished it? How'd it go? Okay.
Pretty cool.
Anyone else want to share how they're doing? I mean, it's a good thing. What's up, Ben?
Doing great.
Why are you doing great? Actually, you don't need a reason. I'm happy that you're doing great.
Simple. 2 syllables.
Don't bring that up. Now everyone's doing bad to me. All right. Well, if no one else wants to say anything, that's cool. And I'll go over the t-shirt voting. So we got the results back. I know we're a week late because we forgot last time. I blame that on myself. And so it's pretty awesome. I thought we were only going to have the person, I thought we were going to have Ryan's shirt that had a picture of Dan's face win, but we didn't. And that's pretty cool. So this is just a little graph right here. This is the number of votes. And this is divided in half, and this is, if you hover over it, says whose shirt it was. So this was that Dan's face shirt, which we all love. And then this is not divided in half. So this is legit 40 votes for Alexis Carter for her t-shirt. And so it went Alexis, Ryan, and I'll show you guys what, if you guys don't remember what those shirts were. I think I put the wrong tab. So this is Alexis's. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm with it. We might be able to, we might mess with it a bit, we might not. We'll see what the designer does with that. And then this is Ryan's. And this was the
Even better.
the Pat Kelly with my wife and one, which was also a hit. So here's what I'm going to do with this. So obviously Alexis is going to get her shirt for free because that was how the competition went. And then you guys are going to be able to select from pretty much the top 3, whichever one you would like. And we're probably going to get those, because we're going to have to get those actually designed and put onto a t-shirt. So we'll probably have those ready to be distributed. I don't want to give them over the summer, just because it feels weird to do that. It's probably more something I should have happened like last semester, but we'll get it out next semester, at the beginning of the semester. And yeah, that's that.
So a couple things, if you're graduating, I can get you a t-shirt because we have flat rate service with USPS and I'll ship you one if you want it. And the other one, oh, the Amazon winner has not been announced, so I'll be doing that tonight.
Wait, what was the Amazon winner?
Okay, for those who voted but didn't actually read the instructions, we were actually doing a giveaway as well. So one random person will get like a $20 gift card to Amazon.
Yo. Okay,
Oh,
well,
did you guys not know about that?
I feel like you told me it was something. I'm not sure anybody remembers.
Cool, so everyone can grab pizza right now if, I don't want to leave you guys starving. So
Yeah, and there are multiple freaking plates.
What random
God.
Okay.
Does it take cool wins?
Pat Kelly says, I will have my revenge.
I will have my revenge. Oh, that's hilarious.
Again.
So I guess we'll go into intermission for right now or something? Or?
Yeah, we're just like a 2-minute intermission. Everyone get their food, get back to their seats.
I'm gonna go pee.
Yep. Is that the type it? Yeah. Wait, that's the mic tuning.
And the other last word can say is 426.
now that we figured out the t-shirt design stuff, we'll keep you guys updated on that and everything. So that's cool. Thank you guys all for submitting stuff. I thought that was super awesome. And I thought Dan's face was just gonna crush everyone, but it didn't, which is even cooler. And so now we're gonna have Steven come up here and talk about something super cool.
All right, did you already create an account for it? We're gonna have a live demo.
Sign in with Google. I'm already logged in. I don't care.
Okay. So raise your hands if you are a computer scientist or program. Okay, so there's a decent amount of people. How many of you have heard of code fights before? How many of you actually use code fights? All right. So my hope is to change that. So I know some people that program, you know, like we kind of miss the days whenever we used to get handed like really easy problems or just problems to solve that weren't projects that we could do on our own time. And I actually saw this website from Patrick Kelly. He had posted something about it on Facebook, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly what it is. Joseph, penguins?
Yep.
Penguins and email. Is he going to tell me something?
Wonder what's got put in there.
Okay,
Cool.
so here it is. CodeFights is basically a place for you to go to experiment and have fun. They have a bunch of different things. So that they have this arcade right here. It's practicing your coding skills while unlocking the arcade map. So think of this like, you know, a whole bunch of just really different challenges. So this one, the intro one, it'll be like, you know, add numbers together. You'll write all your programs in this editor. So if you like to use whatever language you like to use, like you can use Python, JavaScript, whatever you select right here. These are all the available languages that you can program in. So if you want to program in Go or C# or learn a new language, problem solve, this is kind of a fun place to go to do that. So for the sake of whatever write a function that returns the sum of two numbers. Okay, so you click down here.
Start sweating.
All right, then you click this test. Oh look, it passed all these tests. So you'll notice they provide you with unit tests. And like, you know, here's the input, here's what the expected output should be, here's what your actual output was. And then you'll notice at the bottom there's a whole bunch of tests with locks on them. So the idea is that some of these problems, they get really, really ridiculously hard at times. And you'll design a solution and it'll pass all of the public tests. And then you go to submit down here. And right now you'll notice it'll say, oh look, you passed, congratulations. You're 2% of the way done with all 60 of these arcade challenges. And then you might not pass some of the hidden tests. So the idea is that it forces you to write robust solutions to handle edge cases. You know, it focuses a lot on runtime and the complexity of your algorithm. So if you write something that's n squared and it doesn't run within 4 seconds, then you're going to have to rewrite your solution. This little area over here, interview practice, so you can unlock this. This is one of the great things that I think we need more of as computer scientists in this department, whether you're applied or not. It's basically, you know, so what is your plan? Do you like fundamentals? Do you like extra credit freestyle crash course? We're just going to click fundamentals for the sake of whatever. So this entire area are questions that are asked in interviews, common questions. So you notice there's an entire section on data structures, arrays, linked lists, hash tables, trees, heaps, depth and breadth first search, backtracking, sorting, dynamic programming, all of these crazy big bits, you know, so you can click on, so like dynamic programming. They'll show you these are common questions asked by Apple and Adobe, and they say, you know, it should take you about 15 minutes to show you the complexity of what it is that you're doing. Then you've got, okay, we can do that. We'll show like challenges, right? So these challenges are posted by the public, and we're actually thinking about implementing this with ACM. So you can go here, you can look at the difficulties and stuff, and like some of them are 24-hour challenges that you do, and you get like coins and stuff. It's kind of fun. But the real cool thing is the tournaments and stuff as well that we wanted to implement with ACM, where we have the ability to create a 10-minute tournament, whether at the beginning or the end of ACM. Whoever is interested can stick around, and then we throw in a bunch of problems, and you have 10 minutes to, you know, there's 5 problems. One of them is there's something wrong with this line of code, figure out what it is. There's one that's like, you can only change this line of code, and then we start giving you prompts. And it's like you have 5 minutes to write a solution to this problem that we're going to present you. And like, we're thinking maybe like whoever wins the most tournaments by the end of the semester will get like a gift card or something fun like that, something cool for us to do that's not programming in your classes and stuff. There's a whole bunch more stuff on here that I encourage you to check out. Company bots, you can challenge bots by like IBM and Uber or whatever. People, their bots will solve challenges and then you try to compete against them. And then the tournaments. So there are marathon ones that are 2 hours, you sit down and you're going up against a whole bunch of different people that you don't see. And it's like social media. You can invite your friends, you have code friends, you can chat about problems and stuff. Just a place for you to go, experiment, have fun, learn languages, and I really strongly encourage you all to check it out. So I'll go ahead and leave the rest up to you if you're interested in checking it out. But really
So, with that, since summer's coming up, if you guys are just not doing an internship and just working a normal job or something, you guys should look into this and just get some practice over summer, and it could be fun. It probably will be fun. Steven makes it sound fun. I've done a few of them. It's pretty fun.
if you do like one, like there's some of them like you could just do really, really easily. Then there's some that you'll get stuck on for days. And then it can be really, really hard. But
Cool. All right. Does anyone have any questions pertaining to that at all?
it's free.
You can learn languages through this, or
Yeah, so those options with like languages that you can program, if you don't know the language, I strongly encourage that you look up, like, it'll give you the problem, and it'll set you up with whatever you need with the language, and then you can research the language and figure out how to use it, you know.
Doesn't it also give you like the basic syntax in that like bottom left square or something?
Yeah, it'll tell you like specifically with the language, you know, it's not an IDE, so it's not gonna like, you know, give you a crush. It's best like, you know, you'll learn how to solve problems in different ways. So if it requires like arrays and iteration and stuff like that, you'll learn how to do that by doing it in that language, as opposed to, you know, like sitting there and just reading a whole bunch of stuff. You're solving problems. So yeah, strongly recommended. A lot of fun.
All right, Gennaro.
okay.
All right, Gennaro's already taking initiative here. So we have Gennaro here. He's going to present on cryptocurrency. And I chose him because he has a pretty good amount of money tied up in cryptocurrency. And
Okay, so full disclaimer, I do not claim to be a pro. Don't take investment advice from me. So cryptocurrency and why you.
wait, give us a little intro on yourself.
I'm Gennaro Napolitano. I'm a second year computer science student here at NAU.
What about crypto?
I threw some money in crypto. I made some money in crypto. I've lost some money in crypto. You win and you lose. But this is why you should invest. So let's start with the history of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency made by a man known as Satoshi Nakamoto. And this picture is actually of a Satoshi Nakamoto that they tracked down and thought was the creator. And he was harassed for like lots of his life. And he's like, I don't know what this is. So, kind of a sad story for Mr. Satoshi here, but it's okay. It was created to be a decentralized payment system used worldwide, which means no one technically owns or controls the system. It kind of just does its own thing. And in 2011 is when the crypto market sort of started getting bigger, a couple years after Bitcoin was created, and other companies were starting to create their own versions of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency based off of Bitcoin's open source code. In 2017, Bitcoin Cash was created, which is a separate fork per se that was made off of Bitcoin due to the amount of people that were using Bitcoin slowing their entire network down. So they created Bitcoin Cash, and these are kind of just like newish related topics. And in 2018, Stripe, one of the biggest payment processors, actually ended up dropping the support of Bitcoin due to its, I don't want to say volatility because that means it's always bad, but its jumping price. Could be good, could be bad. And in 2018, South Korea made a regulation stating that anybody who trades crypto has to reveal their identity, and that kind of goes against what crypto is about too, because being anonymous and being able to transfer funds is a reason people use it. So yeah, it's kind of there's some history behind it and some recent events. How it works, it utilizes a blockchain technology to keep a ledger of all transactions. Utilizes mining, so mining is essentially multiple computers that are all working together to create a network and be able to keep this ledger up and running. Transactions use what's called a private key, and it's almost like, let's say you're logging into your bank account and you need your password. These private keys are usually a string of a bunch of characters, and if you give them out to anybody, you're kind of screwed because you can't change it and they can take all your money. So don't give out your private keys. We'll talk about that a little more when storing your cryptocurrency comes up. Payments get processed through the miners, so this cluster of network of computers, they're all running through the blockchain, and they're all confirming that this transaction is real and that it is currently trying to go through, so no one can try to spoof a payment and have it go through and try to get away with free money, essentially, or stealing a product from a company. This is kind of just a little chart. You can see we have an entire cluster of computers. I don't know which one's the sender, but one's the sender, one's the receiver. I guess the sender goes through here, and this guy receives it. So the blockchain, it's kind of a confusing technology, but it works. So it's basically a large online ledger, as I said before. It keeps details of times the transaction was sent, received, and who it's coming from, and this and that. It's managed by a peer-to-peer decentralized network. As I said, a pool of computers all working together to make this ledger work correctly. Once the data is recorded, it cannot be updated due to the mesh of machines that are working together. In order for someone to actually technically hack the ledger or the blockchain, you would need to own the majority of the computing power that is running the entire chain. So you could technically hack the blockchain, but you would need millions and millions and millions of computing devices to be able to take majority share of everyone that's working together. It can be used for other uses, and this is what they're trying to do with crypto. Try to almost expand it out of just monetary value of money and have it for real world uses such as recording, keeping data, and voting, things like that. And blocks are essentially, so blockchain, a set of blocks, and they're all chained together and working together, and each block holds transactional data, and they all kind of link to each other. So if you were to able, let's say, change the information on one block, the previous block and the block after that would be like, they pull data from the block that's attempting to be changed, so they'd be like, wait a minute, this doesn't match up, this isn't right, so they would not confirm that change, which makes it, again, harder to hack and scam the system, basically. And block time is essentially the time it takes for the transaction to process. And this is a big thing, and it's a big controversy with Bitcoin, not as of recently, since we've kind of had a market crash a little bit, but when the market was at its peak, Bitcoin transactions were almost taking, at sometimes, days to process because of the transaction fees. And the more people utilizing the network, it would cost more to send, which kind of defeats the purpose. So people were like, oh, there's an issue, and that's why they created Bitcoin Cash, which was faster and used a different technology to basically be better, but not Bitcoin. This is a little chart on how the blockchain works. So we have all these transactions, and it goes into this block, and the cluster of computers, as I said, it works together and pushes that block into the ledger. And so.
Gennaro?
Yes.
So does that mean like the more users, the more secure it is?
It could mean that, I guess, yes, but also the more users that use Bitcoin, I would say the more miners, I would say it makes it more secure, but more users can use it, and less people can mine it, and the network would just get really clogged again and cause more issues.
Okay.
So, yeah, the more miners that use it would make it more secure. Why should you care? Because old money sucks, and who wants to use that old paper stuff when you got that new pixel stuff? New money is still, or money is still digital. PayPal, you got digital money on there, technically real money. But Bitcoin, I would say, does have more verification and security due to the online ledger. Serious note is decentralized, is globally accessible, so yes, anybody around the world, as long as your government is not trying to censor the use of cryptocurrencies, can access it, and I guess no governments, banks or bodies or regulations can interfere, although the US government is trying to get involved just because they want money for taxes and things like that. And faster and more secure than previous currencies. True and also untrue. Like I said, some Bitcoin transactions were taking up to days at a time due to the network congestion. Common questions. How does it retain value? The US government now considers Bitcoin property. Even though there's no physical being of Bitcoin. Funny story, one guy went through the TSA when he was trying to get to his flight, and he got stopped and searched and almost arrested because the TSA agent thought he saw Bitcoin in his backpack, even though Bitcoin doesn't exist. He took a whole video of it. It's pretty funny. It's on YouTube. But yeah, they consider a property like real estate, so they can tax you on it. Is it backed by anything? Not physically, no. And that's one of the problems people have, because the US government says, oh, we have all this baggage with gold and whatever. I don't know what the current thing is. Yeah, so the United States is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. And whether that's true or not, we will never know unless shit goes south. Why should I care? Cryptocurrencies have the potential to displace 25% of all global currencies by 2033.
Good.
And if that's the case, I like whoever said that. If that's the case, I will be looking at some serious cash very soon. So these are some of the main coins. Bitcoin is the grandfather, is the very first one. Litecoin, created by a man named Charlie Lee, created in 2011 when other people started to develop their own versions of the coins themselves. He basically created a faster version and used different technology. There are many different coins, and they all use different technologies and stuff, and whatever one you support the most is what you support. And yeah, again, you have to do your own research, and like I said, there's a bunch of different ones, and I'll show you that a little later in the presentation. Ethereum, it utilizes smart contracts, and essentially what a smart contract is kind of like a middleman. One thing about Bitcoin is you can do what's called double spending, and it's when you send money almost at the same time to do two different addresses, and one transaction will bounce and the other one will go through. So you can attempt to scam people that way, and it's kind of an insecurity, and it is an issue, but if you wait until you get your money before sending whatever product or digital good that you're selling, it's not really an issue. But if you're kind of new, you might not know it, and people might get taken advantage of. Monero, or XMR, is technically the most secure and private untraceable currency. It launched in 2014, and apparently their cryptography involved in their coin is some of the best and is basically untraceable. Many people have the idea that Bitcoin is untraceable, but that in fact is not true, according to the US government, because they did in fact take a lot of people's Bitcoin. Dogecoin. So let's talk about altcoins. Dogecoin. Maybe some of you have heard of it. Maybe some of you haven't. It's essentially a cryptocurrency, just like any other one, and its value is like 1/30th of a penny. And some people don't know that, and that's the thing. There are bad cryptocurrencies that are just worthless. Dogecoin launched, I don't know what year, and they essentially, it was just kind of like an internet meme, and then they ended up getting a NASCAR in the NASCAR circuit, and it just had this giant dog on it, and it was going around. It was pretty funny. Yeah, that's basically what I was creating. And I mean, I guess they succeeded at what they were trying to do. Skycoin, I'm not super familiar with this one, Joseph helped me make this PowerPoint. Apparently it's used to pay internet services and for low income areas. So that's cool. I guess you can buy an internet service with that. And Kodak Coin, not currently trading. It's in what's called an ICO stage, or initial coin offering. And essentially what that means is you can pre-buy before it becomes available to the public. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. So you can pre-buy the coin and no one else will have it. And then when it launches to the public, it has the potential to either go extremely high or it can just lose its value even more. So there is kind of a risk or reward when pre-buying. And they created this coin because they Kodak, I don't know if you know who they are anymore. They're essentially a camera and photography company. And they went bankrupt, and they were one of the biggest, which is pretty surprising that they went under, but I guess they didn't want to keep up with the times, and now they're trying to make it back. So they created a coin, and that's another issue we'll be talking about a little bit. And apparently it's used to protect photographers in the digital age. Yes, Dan?
How much does it cost to start up something like Dogecoin?
Okay, so Bitcoin is open source, so you can just go rip their source off and go make your own coin if you really wanted to. I don't know the complexity of that. I have never actually looked at the Bitcoin source, but I imagine it's kind of complex and you'll have to know somewhat what you're doing. But it's definitely possible, and you can just use other people's sources. Yes.
Well, when is Kodak Coin being released?
We don't know yet. I think it was delayed or something like that.
It was going to be offered in January, but then they delayed it. So I have no idea.
The ICO has been delayed. I looked at their website, and it seems I kind of want to buy into it just to see what happens and see if I can make a little money. Like, I might do it just because, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yes.
Do you know how it's supposed to protect photographers?
I don't know, and that's like kind of the gimmick with it. Like, how can they protect people's images with a coin? Yes.
Can you use a cryptocurrency to buy a cryptocurrency?
Yes, and that's a very good point. You can do that, and that's the most common way to buy cryptocurrency. Yes.
From the coins that you just showed us, have you invested in any of them?
And these?
And the previous? Well, these ones and the previous ones.
Okay, so I have invested in Bitcoin in the past, Litecoin. I currently hold Ethereum, and that's my biggest love and soul right there. She's my baby. And Dogecoin, I never have, never will, don't know why anybody would. And I guess Kodak Coin, like I said, I might dabble into that just because, why not? Okay, crypto exchanges, on to kind of what Steve was talking about. Works like a stock exchange and currency exchange. Each exchange only has a portion of the crypto market, so you can't just go on to, let's say, Coinbase.com, which is probably the most popular exchange, but they only have 4 coins when there are thousands of different coins out there that you can potentially buy. Yes.
On Coinbase, like, don't they just destroy you with fees?
Coinbase, yes. So
Like-
here's the thing with Coinbase. Easiest to do, you just put your credit card in your bank account and you can go buy coins. They're a legitimate company, they're located in California, so they're not gonna go run off with your money, but their fees are atrocious. There are other exchanges out there in China, Korea, things like that charge a lot less, but some of them don't accept credit cards or your bank account. So most people, and that's what I did, I went through Coinbase, bought Bitcoin, and then I put it on a different exchange, and I was able to buy all the different currencies that I wanted with it. So kind of what Steve was saying, yes, you can technically exchange cryptos with other cryptos. You can also store your cryptos on these exchanges. It is not recommended though. One of the biggest Bitcoin exchanges in 2012 called Mt. Gox, G-O-X. They got hacked and everyone's stuff was just gone.
Oh.
And just like, and they were the biggest Bitcoin exchange at the time.
Do you know what that amounted to?
Oh, I don't know.
It was like hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
pretty sure.
it was no joke.
And there was like
Yeah, they're
We
just
can't
like,
do anything about it.
sorry guys, like your stuff's gone.
What happened with the one company that just like left with like billions of dollars?
Oh, BitConnect?
Yeah,
Yeah, BitConnect. They were a scam. I don't know what
Oh
happened to them.
no! They just like left. They became a meme and then
Yeah,
left.
okay, so their coin was worth like $400. And then one day they just disappeared, and their coin that was worth $400 just dropped to $1. So anybody who had thousands and thousands of these coins that they invested potentially up to $400 per coin with is now worth $1. So if you had 400,000 of these coins, you now have $400,000, but you probably had millions before. So yeah, that is the thing. The market can change and crash, and it's pretty unfortunate. Binance is currently the exchange I use. I think they're good, but obviously I don't store my coins on there. Wallets and security. There are multiple different types of wallets. Usually each coin comes out with their own software wallet that you can download on your computer and store everything there. And they give you the ability to keep your private keys to yourself. And the thing about storing your coins on exchanges, they hold your private keys, so they technically have access to all your funds. So that is a negative side to holding them on an exchange, and then if they get hacked, you're screwed. Different types of wallets, exchanges, software wallets, like I said, you can download them, store them on your computer, or hardware wallets. This is what I use. It's almost like USB drive, but it's encrypted and stuff. Plug it in, you put your coins on there, you unplug it, and you're good to go. Just make sure you don't lose that. And they can be a little pricey, between $100 and $200 per unit, but you can use them for multiple different types of cryptocurrencies, so it's not like a huge deal. How transactions are secured. Like I said, blockchain has the mesh of computers verifying all the transactions and stuff, and it usually takes between 20 and 50 rounds of verification before the transaction becomes official and says, yes, this is real money going through, this is not fake, this is that. And the block size, the block time that we were talking about earlier, that's about how long it can take, and each coin is different depending on their network speed, the amount of users using it, and things like that. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes.
With the USB drive, the hardware wallet, if that drive fails, is everything just gone?
Okay, so when you create your wallet on this USB key, they will give you your private keys and a passphrase, which is randomly generated. And if you write that down on your paper, which is what they recommend you write it down on paper, you can recover your funds without the USB key, but you will need all that information written down on that paper. So you can store it on your computer, but then that makes you vulnerable to hackers if they were to get on your computer and steal that information. So yeah, usually you get that little USB key, make a couple paper backups, keep them safe different places, and put that key in like a fireproof safe or something if you have a lot of money invested into it. Strategies. HODL. Just HODL it. It's funny because there's like a chart of money and then like a giant crash there. But HODL was a term created by a Reddit user who accidentally misspelled hold, and it became like an internet meme. Essentially, it's just like, no matter what the market's doing, just hold on, you'll make it, and don't sell at a loss, because who wants to do that? The diamond in the rough. Coins with real potential, just like finding good stocks that are small, coming to market soon, that could potentially explode. Initial coin offerings, like I said, where companies pre-sell their coins, and you can get it early before anybody else does. And usually, that is something they will only have a limited supply amount of that they'll sell, which is what makes it a little more rare. Little happy alts. There was a tree emojis there. Put investments into different coins is better than having investments in mainstream coins. That can be true. That can also be a bad thing, because obviously you can have all these little coins from all these companies and they could potentially become worthless as compared to Bitcoin. That won't have the likelihood of that happening. So yes, Bitcoin is more expensive, and to buy it now is almost $7,000 again, just for one coin, which is a lot of money.
Has it really dropped that much?
Yeah, went from 20,000 to like 5,000 in a matter of like 30 days. and now it's like climbing up a little. In the last 24 hours, it went up like $1,000, which I'm not sure why. I've been reading about it a little bit, and apparently there's been some big investors coming in, but I don't know how true that is. You gotta remember what you're reading online might not always be true, and it could screw you. Pop culture and effect. The Crayful Gang. I've never heard of this one until Joseph put it in the PowerPoint. Apparently John Oliver from last week created this term, and people are now just using it. Shitcoins. That is a thing. That is the actual name. Companies renaming themselves. There was a company called Long Island Iced Tea. I think that's what their name was. And I guess they're in Long Island, New York. And they basically renamed their thing to like Long Island cryptocurrency. And just because they changed their name to that, their stock went up. And it was just like a giant meme. And it was just like the stupidest thing ever, because they just changed their name to cryptocurrency. And they're like, yeah, let's roll the dough. Like, we're making so much money now. It wasn't PowerPoint.
Yep.
And another shitcoin would be like Dogecoin, because it's basically worthless and it's only a meme. And then a lot of you may have known, if you're looking for graphics cards, they're hard to find because the blockchain, it uses graphics processing power to be able to process all these transactions. And when you are mining, you do get a miner reward, so you earn Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever else you're mining for. You earn some of those coins as you're doing it and helping the ledger. So everyone's been buying all the graphics cards, and the price has been ridiculous. Fanby's actually been looking, and yeah, that's a thing. The prices are going down, so it's kind of cool. Some of the most famous Bitcoin wallets. Yes, you can have a famous Bitcoin wallet. Laszlo's Pizza. So this guy is a legend because he was the very first person to buy a physical product with Bitcoin. And he bought 2 large pizzas from Papa John's for a total of 10,000 Bitcoins, which in current day is $76 million.
Papa Bois. Good old Papa Bois.
Some good pizza.
He it was back in I think 2010. He went out to some Bitcoin forum. He's like, guys, I just bought pizza with Bitcoin. It was only 10,000 Bitcoin. At the time, I think Bitcoin was only worth like 8 cents then. So maybe you got a good deal. The Genesis address, that was just the very first Bitcoin address. It was kind of cool. The largest transaction ever. And these are all clickable. If you go to them, you can see all the information for the block. You might click them. And essentially, the largest transaction ever was 550,000 Bitcoins being sent to one person. And that person, whoever has them now, I don't know if they still have them. If they were to sell all their Bitcoin, their 550,000 of them, they could potentially just destroy the entire crypto market, and everyone would be riding the stock exchange to do it now.
How much money would that be worth?
Current day. I don't know, 550,000 times 7,000, whatever that might be. I don't know.
Big number.
Times 7,000. So,
Yeah.
I get
so
it.
that's like a.
Joseph's doing it right now.
Oh, wow.
That's like a.
3.8 billion?
Yeah.
And I don't think the market cap's that big either.
No, we're at like 300 billion or something.
Okay. It's definitely not dropping the pond though.
When did this transaction happen?
This was a long time ago, so
Okay, yeah.
it's definitely worth a lot less. But I don't know whoever holds those coins if they haven't issued any.
I seem to recall something about that like someone with a substantial amount of Bitcoins, their hard drive was exploding or something. They just like lost all of them.
Yeah, and I remember reading an article. This dude had like 80,000 Bitcoins, and he threw his hard drive away. And he spent like years looking through the garbage disposals and stuff, looking for his hard drive, and he never found it.
That's so sad.
So, questions, comments, concerns, or a picture of Tanner from the.
I got a question.
Yes.
First of all, that's not 5th grade. That's like, I'm in high school at that point. But, okay.
I'm trying to help.
Oh my. So we have a question from the audience here.
The audience.
From Pat.
Pat Kelly.
So you better not miss
Legend.
this show. Well, it's fine if you don't know the answer. We'll figure it out. Can you comment on POW versus POS coin mining?
Okay, so there's proof of work and proof of stake. I think proof of work is with GPU mining, and I don't know what proof of stake is. I don't know the difference between the two, but I think one is GPU mining and one is something completely different. That's basically all I really know about them. I know there's a whole technology thing. Yeah.
Joseph, fact check.
Gennaro, as someone who is indeed in possession of some Ethereum,
Yes.
what is it at right now? I'm just
Okay,
curious.
so the price of Ethereum is at, I think, it almost made it back to $500 today. It was at 400 and something last time I checked this afternoon. I bought in when it was $40 or $50, and yeah, so I got pretty good.
How many coins do you have?
I currently hold 16 of them.
16 whole Ethereums.
Yeah. I used to have 24, but then I started like online gambling with it, doing roulette and stuff.
Oh no.
If you go to my online Bitcoin roulette account, it'll show you how much I've gambled, and it's like something over $100,000 in just like roulette.
What? Oh my god. Gennaro, how much money have you lost from Bitcoin?
He hasn't lost it.
I'm in the green.
No, like in like just
Roulette.
Yeah, like roulette wise.
Okay, so I'm probably down like $1,000 total, so I'm
Okay.
like pretty even.
But I'm gonna come back.
You know, like, tonight, you put $100 in, you're like, okay, going all in. Yes, you win, and I made it to like $2,000 that night. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go all in, and I lost. So. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe if I just put $50 more in, I can get my $2,000 back.
That's what happened.
And that's what happens. Like, gambling is a thing.
Don't gamble. Don't be Gennaro. Unless you're gonna win.
Yeah.
Every time.
So yeah, any other questions?
Is
Yes.
Bitcoin the most expensive coin?
Yes, it is the most expensive coin. It is currently worth roughly 7,000 and peaked at 20,000.
What's the next?
The next one, I don't know. It might be Ethereum.
I
think it is Ethereum.
Probably
So
Ethereum.
how long ago
By
was
market cap
Bitcoin
it
8
is.
cents?
When it launched in 2009.
2009, so okay, so it's just
Wasn't it like the beginning of last year?
Just
Yeah. So when I had a couple of Bitcoins last year.
Cash bet.
Yeah, it was like $1,000, and I was like,
It's a gambling code.
like that's cool. And then I sold it in Ethereum. And this website, coinmarketcap.com, shows you all the information about the different coins. As you can see, there are over 1,500 different coins. Yeah. So there are 1,500 different
could you like take out?
It's actually like they probably let you switch it. It's like what they do around like that.
I've never seen this website.
Like, is that what
Does anyone have some questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you said earlier like a Dogecoin.
What's that is 7,000.
33.
Yeah, we can look up Doge.
If you wanted to buy
That's what
one Dogecoin,
Yes,
how
what
would that
Bitcoin
work?
is at.
Okay, so
Someone
gave me
that. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so like Dogecoin.
Dogecoin.
It was a portable.
That was 3/10. Circulating supply. Oh my god.
It's going up, guys.
It is up 12% today. Like I
There
said,
are
the entire market's going up.
113
You mean to
billion
tell me that
Dogecoins.
there's 400 mil in the Dogecoin?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
That is the current circulating supply of Dogecoin. This is the, I guess this isn't circulating. This is how much the general public owns.
14 million.
Like the fact that we have a coin with a Doge on it, it's worth.
Someone needs to collect all the Dogecoin.
Yeah, but to answer the question,
Gotta get them all.
if you want to buy one single Dogecoin, if you want to buy one single Dogecoin, you would have to essentially, when you trade cryptocurrencies, you don't have to trade just one. You can trade a fraction of one. Like this is currently this much Bitcoin. So if you traded this much Bitcoin, you would get that much Dogecoin.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Can we see some live roulette?
We are not gambling.
No gambling.
Out of there!
Not in the school computer.
Reader checks.
Oh, it's this thing you showed. Oh.
So yeah,
yeah, this is BitDouble, my website of choice. Essentially, you choose black, red, or green.
Do not make your bet right now.
I don't have any.
No one's logged. He's not logged in.
I did a couple days ago and I lost $50 and I was just like, okay, we're done for the day.
How can you, like, are these fully trusted?
I mean, I
I
played
feel
on
like I
them.
couldn't trust it.
It's provably fair.
It's
secure.
All right. So,
Red.
mathematically
Red.
speaking,
Red.
red 2.
as you can see, this can get very addicting very fast.
Lucky number 13.
There are on
I think
somebody's
CS:GO
good
game
bets will show up like down here. It doesn't look like anything.
CS:GO gambling.
There are coin flips
CS:GO
where you
Live,
can
I
just
guess.
like flip a coin.
That's so.
Have you guys never done this?
Heads or tails? $10,000 on it.
Yes. So like,
Competitive.
I used to be one of the highest ranked people on this leaderboard at one point, and that was pretty cool. And they give you bonus monies. Like this guy. Okay, let's check his how much he's bet total on this website. This was micro Bitcoin to US dollars. So he spent $17,000, but that's one for the week, I think.
That is for the week.
Zuckerberg!
This is the #1 guy. I used to play with this guy. Okay.
Freakazoid?
Yeah, dude.
Freakazoid.
So he's in for however much this is. $3 million. $3 million. Wow.
$3 million.
He spent that much money, like, cumulatively on this site?
Okay,
That's how
so
much he's won.
if you won $50 and lost $50, it totals to $100. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
the
he
total
could
amount
be even
bet.
right now.
So the amount of money that we don't know the amount of money that he's
Yeah.
actually gained.
Yeah, we don't know
So-
that.
He's a Cloud9. The Cloud9 player. I'm not surprised.
Freaking cloud.
He probably does it on stream.
Going all in with my Dogecoin.
So yeah, this website is just like all.
Let's get Tether.
Tether.
Let's get Tether.
Penny stock.
Yeah, Ripple.
Dirt.
Ripple was.
Remember when
It's
it was like
$2?
$2?
I'm gonna make a
Didn't it go
$10
$2 over summer?
Ripple was worth like $3.50 at one point.
Yeah, it's
And now it's
ridiculous.
worth 61 cents.
And it was worth like 25 cents for the longest time. For like 8
Can we make a pact
Spike.
that's like twice as long?
It's already out there.
It was worth almost $4.
Why?
$3.79.
We were trying to, but it takes so long for some of these websites to authorize you.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
2 months to authorize me, and then I was like, I want to buy one at $25. It's at $1.50 now.
Yeah.
Screw me.
As you can see, this is the market cap throughout the years. And over summer, or I guess, no, it was over like spring.
Yeah.
This market cap went spiking up, and that's when my Ethereum was worth $1,400, and now it's worth $400.
$1,400 a piece, and you had 18, 16 through 18?
16 of them. It was worth over like, it was
Take
worth
the
almost
L.
$30,000 or $40,000. And then I was like, no, I'm just gonna wait for it to keep going up. And
There went my tuition.
Wait, what was it worth?
$1,400.
Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, no, that's how much
my
you
entire
have.
portfolio.
I would have pulled out, man. Pay
No,
for your
you got
college.
You got a hodl.
Hodl. And so Bitcoin Cash is fairly new then, I take?
Yeah, so Bitcoin Cash, I think was created, I think last year, mid 2017. It was worth only $200, and then Coinbase added it to their exchange, and like I said, they are one of the biggest U.S. exchanges.
Buy like 3 graphics cards.
And so everyone was like, holy shit, everyone's going to buy Bitcoin Cash. And then it was worth like 14, or it might have been worth like $2,400 we checked. And then, yeah, let's see, this is
30,000 or 3,000.
Oh, okay, so it's worth $4,000 at that peak.
It was only like 10.
And now it's worth $700. So, yeah.
Honestly, Ripple's doing fine though.
Ripple, like, I was thinking about buying Ripple, it was like 50 cents. Yeah, so any other questions, comments, or concerns?
If not, I got some nice questions.
Okay.
If no one has questions, I got some questions for all of you guys.
Oh, I know, it sounds way too intense. It's really not that real. This relates to conversation. So stay out here. Who's invested in crypto? I'm just curious. Alright, tell me how it went. I want to know how you guys went.
I want to.
You just have it still?
That's it.
Is it still in there? Okay. How much is it? Like 50 or something?
I was young, I was dumb, and I was also still broke. But I still invested. I think I made like double my earnings because I went in right before like
What was your initial?
I think Bitcoin was at like maybe 7,000, and then it skyrocketed to 20,000. I was like, yes, I made money. And then it came down again. But I was like, whatever.
Anyone else? So I did it for I invested for 1 week. I literally I don't remember what I even put it in. I think I put it in like Ethereum and Litecoin. And I put like $100 in. And then it went up to $200 and I was like, well, like, that's like $100. I was gonna pull out. I was like, I got $100 now, so not bad.
Once you take it out, do you just have to buy it again if you want to take it out of it? Like, how does it?
So I connect my.
Can you go back in like the next day?
Yeah, okay, so the process, if you pull it out to your bank, it might take a couple days until you have your money back. But you can pull out to called what's USDT, which is Tether, which is a US dollar coin, and it follows exactly how much the US dollar is worth. So you can pull out into that coin, and then you can always just buy back instantly into the market again. And apparently Tether was involved with like a giant scam, and they got audited. They were not saying they had as much cash as they said they had. So probably like the United States government.
Hey.
Yeah.
Keeps landing on this black 13.
Yeah.
I saw my money on this website. It went on like this 10 black streak, and I was like, it's gonna hit red. So I was like $200, and then I lost. And I was like $400, and I lost. And I was like $1,000, and I lost it all. It's like it kept landing on black, and then it landed on green, of course.
It's gonna be green this time.
All right. So did anyone else buy any crypto?
I watched you buy crypto.
I have a funny story. Well, Dan, the one that gave the hardware presentation, he bought in. He just bought like one Litecoin. It was like $70.
I'm a millionaire! I bet on green.
That's funny. He bought it he just bought one Litecoin. It was like $70.
Thanks to mine.
A week later, he end up not even making as much as he could. It went up to like $300, and Gennaro was like, "All right, you better just sell that thing because it's not staying there." And he didn't sell it, and then he lost he didn't lose like $20,000. He lost like $200. So I don't know. It was just fun and funny.
I told him.
Yeah, he should have sold that.
I told many people.
Does anyone else have any questions or anything?
Comments or concerns?
Yeah.
Was Joseph?
What's up, Norman?
Gennaro,
Yes.
did you buy that gold chain with cryptocurrency?
No, sir. But I did plan on it if I did sell at 30,000. I was gonna get like a giant one.
Yeah, Joseph, we have a funny cryptocurrency story. Remember when we were trying to mine cryptocurrency on Sam's computer?
Yes. So this was back in like 2015. Oh no, we've done this several times now.
No, on Sam's computer. And
We tried
we wanted to see if it actually could.
Oh god. So we had a roommate's computer like I think last year. We were gonna try to mine with it. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Not gonna make your
It's
money.
not gonna
back on
happen.
that.
It was like
It was
like a really bad AMD system. We were like, we're not paying for electricity here, so we could just leave it running, but it would not work out because everyone's already in the market. So it's just like the slowest machine ever trying to keep up and pay fees and stuff.
The what?
That third one.
Yeah, these are what people can use for Bitcoin mining. And this is where all the graphics cards go. They all put them in this rack, and then they put like a bunch of power supplies in there. So if you do get into this, what you have to take into consideration is the amount you're investing into hardware and your monthly power bill, because this will significantly affect your power. And I think some places in China, they don't have like power bills, and then they have just giant warehouses. of essentially this. And those are all just Bitcoin mining machines, and then they just make millions a month.
No power bills?
Yeah,
Yeah, like if you live on campus.
yeah, exactly. Someone else puts the bill and they just take advantage.
Oh, they'd find a way to take it from me.
Ah, there we go.
Have you mined anything, Gennaro, or not?
Do I mine? No, I don't have enough hardware. I was thinking about buying like 10 graphics cards and just running it out of like milk crates, but then I just decided against it.
Just make a milk crate liquid nitrogen computer. Just
Yeah, like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, you guys are gonna stick along. I think we're done here. If you guys want to sit and chat and everything, just give Gennaro a round of applause.
Well
Yeah.
Well done.
Awesome. And
I like what I heard.
announcement before everyone leaves. Next week is the 19th, right?
Yep.
We're not gonna have a meeting next week because there's the concert thing happening. I figured you guys are
the
gonna be
concert
able-
thing.
What concert?
The spring concert that you all paid for. It's the ACM NAU that you guys take it.
I thought that's every new
so every-
It's Brockhampton, go see him.
Every
Yeah,
year
they're playing.
there's an ASNU concert that's, and they bring in someone like who's famous or likable in that sense. And it's just a $30 fee that comes out of your tuition or something.
Fantastic.
You guys get to vote on who usually comes in, but they have to count the money out ahead of time.
So this guy.
So this is a free concert that you have to go to take it off.
Seems like a great guy. Yeah, super fella.
Both of them are very worth seeing. They're free.
Yeah, so there will be no
You'd have to
meeting
be
next
stupid.
week. I apologize for that.
No!
Norman, get over it. We're gonna have a meeting the week after
Brockhampton
that.
or like.
That will be our final meeting, I believe.
Wait, Julian, is the stream still going?
Yeah.